All right, since March of last year, I have been warning you, the American people, about 5 forces that are working to destroy President Trump. Yeah, partisan deep state bureaucrats. We learned a lot about them in the last year and a half. Liberal Democrats, your corrupt, pathetic media, weak establishment Republicans, and this group called Never Trumpers. Yesterday, what we have been telling you for more than a year is now playing out as we have predicted. Led by Robert Mueller's merry band of Democratic donors and witch hunters, the deep state has successfully now targeted several Trump associates. They never would have been targeted if they weren't friends with the president. And yesterday, Paul Manafort, he was convicted on 8 of 18 bank and tax fraud charges, nothing to do with Russia collusion. And during an exclusive interview that will air tomorrow morning on Fox and Friends, President Trump weighed in on that and so much more. Let's get a sneak peek.
Are you considering pardoning Paul Manafort?
I have great respect for what he's done in terms of what he's gone through. You know, he worked for Ronald Reagan for years. He worked for Bob Dole. He worked, I guess his firm worked for McCain. He worked for many, many people, many, many years. And I would say what he did, some of the charges they threw against him, every consultant, every lobbyist in Washington probably does. If you look at Hillary Clinton's person, you take a look at the people that worked for Hillary Clinton. I mean, look at the crimes that Clinton did with the emails, and she deletes 33,000 emails after she gets a subpoena from Congress. And this Justice Department does nothing about it. And all of the other crimes that they've done.
We're going to have a lot more on the blatant legal double standard in a moment. But first, also yesterday, federal prosecutors compelled Michael Cohen to plead guilty to bank and tax fraud charges and some phony campaign finance violations. Again, none of these charges have anything to do with Russia collusion, President Trump, or the election of 2016. And last night, right here on this program, the great one, Mark Levin, completely debunked the campaign-related charges. Let's take a look.
The general counsel for the Clinton mob family, Lanny Davis, he had his client plead to 2 counts of criminality that don't exist. These campaign finance violations that all over TV, they're saying implicates the President of the United States directly. First, let's back up. It is a guilty plea. It is a plea bargain between a prosecutor and a criminal who doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison. That is not precedent. That applies only to that specific case. Nobody cites plea bargains for precedent. That's number one. Number two, just because a prosecutor says that somebody violated a campaign law doesn't make it so. He's not the judge. He's not the jury. We didn't adjudicate anything. It never went to court. That's number two. A campaign expenditure under our federal campaign laws is an expenditure solely for campaign activity. A candidate who spends his own money or even corporate money for an event that occurred not as a result of the campaign, it is not a campaign expenditure.
In other words, most of the liberal lawyers you see on TV are dopes. They don't know the law. Look at Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz also debunking these charges. Guys, watch, listen, learn. It'll help you.
The law is clear that a president may contribute to his own campaign. So if the president had paid $280,000 to these 2 women, even if he had done so in order to help his campaign, that would be no problem. That's legal. And if Cohen himself made the contribution, that would be unlawful because he has a limit of $5,200. So the complicated issue is, what if Trump told him to do it, as Cohen says? Then Cohen would be acting for Trump as Trump's representative, and the campaign contribution would be lawful as long as the president ultimately paid for it.
That's 100% right. That's the law. And during an interview with Ainsley Earhart, again, she's going to join us in a few minutes, the president reiterated these payments were in no way a campaign finance violation. Look at the law. Take a look. Listen, learn.
Did you know about the payments?
Later on, I knew. Later on. But you have to understand, Ainsley, what he did, and they weren't taken out of campaign finance. That's a big thing. That's a much bigger thing. Did they come out of the campaign? They didn't come out of the campaign. They came from me, and I tweeted about it. You know, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted about the payments. But They didn't come out of campaign. In fact, my first question when I heard about it was, did they come out of the campaign? Because that could be a little dicey. And they didn't come out of the campaign, and that's big. But they weren't, it's not even a campaign violation. If you look at President Obama, he had a massive campaign violation, but he had a different attorney general, and they viewed it a lot differently.
Now, while the media, they want you to believe that Michael Cohen, he was a central player in all things Trump, the president, well, he had a much different take. Let's listen to him.
Michael Cohen, tell me about your relationship with him.
Well, he was a lawyer for me for one of many. You know, they always say the lawyer, and then they like to add the fixer. Well, I don't know if there's a fixer. I don't know where that term came from, but he's been a lawyer for me, didn't do big deals, did small deals, not somebody that was with me that much. You know, they make it sound like I didn't live without him. I understood Michael Cohen very well. What turned out he wasn't a very good lawyer, frankly. But he was somebody that was probably with me for about 10 years, and I would see him sometimes.
Now, Michael Cohen's attorney, Lanny Davis, said that his client would not even accept a pardon from the president. He actually said that today. Lanny, I've known you a lot of years. Who are you representing here? That Michael Cohen wouldn't accept a pardon? He's facing as many as 5 years in jail? Look, Lanny, I know you're so embedded into the Clintons and you love all things Clinton, but you're supposed to represent Michael here. And if he was ever offered a pardon, it'd be pretty stupid not to take it. What a disservice. Now, no person would be better off spending years in prison with a felony conviction on their track record or getting a pardon. Basic, simple, common sense, Lanny. Now, regardless of what you think about Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, it is clear they have been targeted. They have been singled out for their one-time connection to President Trump, and now both men, and then you can add Michael Flynn and George Papadopoulos, they all face time in jail. A horrible example of what we have been exposing on this program. A two-tiered justice system. Equal justice under the law, equal application of our laws. That's the great system of our constitutional republic. In 2008, you may recall, the Obama campaign, they kept $1.3 million in illegal contributions. Guess what? Nobody got charged. Nobody got indicted. Nobody went to prison. No one was slapped with a felony. Just a campaign-wide fine, $375 grand. 2017, the Clinton campaign, the DNC, they were reported to the FEC for failing to properly disclose their financial contributions to the dirty dossier, you know, that was funneled through Perkins Coie, the law firm that then hired, Fusion GPS, the op research group that then hired Christopher Steele, the foreign national who's not supposed to impact our elections, that then paid for Russian lies that he doesn't even stand by, then became the basis to lie to the American people before the campaign, then became the basis of 4 FISA warrants to spy on a Trump campaign associate. That's the whole thing. They didn't report that money. They paid, that's a legal expense. It wasn't. Robert Mueller, nowhere to be found. And on the tax front, in 2015, according to a report from then Congressman Jason Chaffetz, he's in for Laura Ingraham tonight, federal workers owed $1 billion in unpaid taxes. That's right, they work for your government, including many in Obama's White House. Of course, no special counsel, no investigation, no indictment, nothing against these tax cheats. Remember tax cheat Geithner? They were working in our federal government. A lot. $1 billion is kind of a lot of money. I read that somewhere. It's now really clear that there's one system of justice for Hillary Clinton, the Democrats, deep state bureaucrats. The Obama White House, they have one system of justice. Anyone else, you and me, anyone tied to Donald Trump, a different system of justice. This republic can survive with a dual justice system, which brings us to our next critical point. I have been shouting this from the rooftop since May. We are about to face what I'm calling the most important midterm elections in our lifetime. 76 days from today, while the deep state is working around the clock to dig up dirt on anybody, anything associated with this president that you elected, the American people, Democrats are now planning to use this information to bring articles of impeachment against the president. It doesn't matter that there's no collusion. Mark Levin was right last night. Robert Mueller will write an impeachment document. It doesn't matter that the president did nothing wrong and broke no law. Mark my words, if you stay home on Election Day and Democrats take back the House of Representatives, I promise you, mark my words, they will bring articles of impeachment against the president. I have been warning about this for a long time. If you don't believe it now, I don't know what will make you believe it. 76 days, you will decide if the president and his agenda goes forward, because they will stop that. This November, the future of this continued successful economic boom, continued peace through strength, all of this, there's a lot of stuff at stake. And sadly, that's not all. We know what the Democratic agenda is. It's pretty scary, actually. Let's see. What they called crumbs, your tax cuts, they want their crumbs back. And as we said, they want to impeach the president. As we've told you, they want to preserve Obamacare. Lose your doctor, lose your plan, pay more. That seems to work for them. They want to block Judge Kavanaugh and constitutionalists to the Supreme Court, originalists. They want open borders. They want to eliminate ICE. They're saying as much. They want to kill off all of these investigations, just drop it right there, for their deep state friends and this massive abuse of power that we have been able to expose. And as always, the mainstream media, the destroy Trump media, they're just doing the bidding of the left. The Democratic Party. They're an extension of their press office. And like a broken record, for what seems like the millionth time, the crisis peddlers in the news media in this country, the echo chamber, they're all predicting the same thing, because it's what they're hoping for. Impeachment. This is what they wanted for a long time. This is their shot. Take a look.
Given the events of today, the likelihood of impeachment, I'm not saying it's high necessarily, but it certainly went up.
Impeachment.
Impeached.
Impeachment. Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
The president is clearly guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. He should resign his office or be impeached.
Today, the Trump presidency took a giant step toward impeachment.
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 Impeachment implications are now in the air.
Impeachment. Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
If it is a crime, it certainly is an impeachable offense.
Impeach Trump.
Impeachment.
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 Remember S-hole, S-hole, S-hole. Remember stormy, stormy, stormy. Russia, Russia, Russia. They hyperventilate over whatever the issue is of the day. For over 24 hours, your apocalyptic press have been working overtime, in overdrive, pushing anti-Trump conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory. We have the evidence. Take a look. You decide.
The man who once said he'd take a bullet for Donald Trump today in federal court was essentially calling his old boss and client, now the president of the United States, a crook.
So there are a lot of players now who start to potentially construct an enterprise, a criminal enterprise that is around or may even involve the president.
It's very baked in as of now and is not going to change that Donald Trump is indeed a scumbag. Voters know that.
I think there is something worse than a useful idiot, and that would be a useful idiot under legal siege. And that is what President Donald Trump is this morning.
You really want to stay home in 76 days? Did you vote for the president? You happy with the economy? You want to stay the course? You like the judges appointed? You want borders secured? Do you want health care transformed? Do you want peace through strength? But it's this kind of breathless, abusive bias. It's the very reason the president has rightly criticized the media, including this moment in his interview on Fox and Friends that will air tomorrow morning with Ainsley. Take a look.
The press. Is the press the enemy of the people?
No, not at all. But the fake news is. And the fake news is comprised of, it's a lot, it's a big chunk, okay? Somebody said, what's the chunk? I said, 80%. It's a lot. It's a lot. If I do something well, it's not reported, other than in the 20%. I mean, the New York Times cannot write a good story about me. They're crazed. They're like lunatics.
As you can see from tonight's monologue, I told you a long time ago, the very beginning. It actually started the day he and Melania came down the escalator. 5 forces that have been working against the president. They're now more active. They sense there's blood in the water. They are literally harmoniously working together. And yeah, most of them would love the impeachment of the president you voted for and stop the progress, ruin his agenda. Now, this is real, and never has it been more important If you care about your vote in 2016, you might want to register and vote, knowing that this hate, this destruction, this havoc that will occur if the Democrats take back the House. It's a clear and present danger. So don't tell me, by the way, the morning after the election that you didn't have sufficient knowledge of what they would do. 76 days from today, you have a massive opportunity to protect your vote in 2016. Preserve that vote. Repair the system of justice. Make this country a better place for every American. There's a lot riding on this midterm. They want to undo the agenda you voted for. They want to stop the progress we have obviously made that they'll never talk about in the media. All right, before we wrap up our monologue tonight, let's turn to this horrific, sad story out of Iowa. 20-year-old college student Molly Tibbetts senselessly murdered. Her body recovered in a cornfield. And now a Mexican national in this country illegally has now confessed to stalking and murdering Molly Tibbetts while she was out jogging. The monster likely responsible for this crime is now being held on $5 million in bail. Earlier today, the president, he reacted on Twitter. Take a look.
Molly Tibbetts, an incredible young woman, is now permanently separated from her family. A person came in from Mexico illegally and killed her. We need the wall. We need our immigration laws changed. We need our border laws changed. We need Republicans to do it because the Democrats aren't going to do it. To the family of Molly Tibbetts, all I can say is God bless you.
FoxNews.com has been covering this tragic story for weeks.